Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Actually, it's the good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's 2 hours before we hit the midnight. Actually, not midnight, but yeah, 12 a.m. But I just got home. I like last couple weeks ago, I went with my friends to have dinner on campus, and by the time I was done, it was already about 8:30. Catch the metro, which I don't know, like $4, $5, $6. Excuse me. But then the bus was gone, so I have to walk all the way here. Now, walking is good. I'm able to hit my calories. I'm able to hit my steps. I now have like 8,000 steps this day today, so it's very average. I'm supposed to walk like 5,000 steps, so it's pretty good. Um, but today, like as usual, I'm now hanging on a schedule, waking up at 8, waking up at 7:30, then catching the bus at 8. So it's becoming a normal thing. So it works that when you train your brain to do something every single day, becomes normal. So like I train myself to make a video like this every day, now it's becoming normal. And I think I need to train my brain to apply for jobs every single day. After that will become normal, and I will be doing interviews, and I need to train my brain to be the programmer, computer scientist, financial analyst, stuff like that, things like that. But the updates, so as you already know, this is October and exams are kicking in, right? It's that moment. And the reason why I made this series of videos is so that I can have time to remember what I studied. When I repeat what I studied, I'm able to remember if I'm doing an exam. So I've been discussing about the research papers. I've been discussing about the things that I studied in school. And on Monday, it will be the time to sort of showcase what I've been studying. So the things that today I was looking into, it was the Cobb formula, which is the output y is equivalent to A, which is technology, K, which is the capital, multiplied by labor, right? So, and then draw the graph and show how the diminishing return, diminishing return on capital, something like that. So then it keeps diminishing until the economy comes to a steady state. Steady state is when the capital per worker is equivalent to I think the output. I forgot everything already. So, but at least I'm able to remember this thing. I'm able to draw a graph where I can showcase the diminishing marginal return on investments, or diminishing marginal return on capital, where the capital is equivalent to the capital per worker is equivalent to the investments. So no country has a steady state. Actually, when I look up on Google, there's no perfect steady state where the capital per worker is equivalent to the output. It's always going to be an imbalance. You have more capital, but you have no workers, or you have more workers, you have no capital. So unemployment is higher. Sometimes you have no technology, something like that. So the Sara model formula assumes that the every country functions by having technology, then having capital, then having the labor. So when you combine technology, capital, and labor, then you're able to produce as much as you want. So if you pick any country, right, United States, Africa, Asia, you have people, let's say farmers. Let's say in Uganda, people are farmers, right? They grow produce. They don't need education. They don't need to know how to read and write. They don't need to know those things, but they have the specific technology in their mind. technology of using tools, technology of, I remember in Uganda, farmers used to swallow, they swallow like beans, then they spit those beans into the soil, and that's technology. That's something they invented themselves, right? And they become productive. They can perform. They can grow, maize, beans, and all kinds of crops to consume for next season. So this Cobb-Douglas formula, or the formula that is within Sotomoro assumption, is that as long as you have technology, as long as people have some basic knowledge, and then you have capital, so some kind of investment. So capital could be machines like the hole digging. It could be those machetes they use to cut trees. It could be, like an additional technology like cars, but usually it's like the basic technology. And then you have the labor, right? Excuse me. You have the labor, right? Human is working, the energy people. When you combine that, you have the output, so you can actually measure how much each country is producing. That formula is fantastic. Like, I really love it. It's not the best formula to calculate how much the country produce, because there are actual other things that goes into it. It could be research, could be education, could be culture, it could be the resources, right? We don't really think much about that. Those are like an additional things. We don't see the investments that comes later. We don't see savings that comes later. But the basic Sotomoro formula, the basic Sotomoro says that the only way to calculate the performance, the output for any given country, is by basically simply counting the technology, the capital, as well as the labor. When you combine that, you're able to get the output. And then you have to count two things. So you have technology is constant, does not change. So people have knowledge. If I was born like right now, right? Whenever you're born in the world, you're born with a specific skills, specific knowledge, specific technology. Like you can speak, you can sound, you can see, you can observe. That is technology. You can read, write, count. That is technology. Like you can do something. You can play sports. You can move something. That's technology. That's something you are born with. And then that stays constant. That does not change. So if people in Uganda have the basic skills, which is to grow crops, that is the basic skills. That is something that you cannot change. However, when it comes to labor and capital, those two things do change. So in the Sotomoro or Cobb-Douglas formula, they do add a percentage, right? It's called the alpha and the beta. Alpha and beta, they stand for how much the diminishing value of those two things. So this is very sad because humans actually do diminish. Like we diminish. Like there are things that I can do right now as a 28 years old. There are things that I could have done if I was 16 years old, and there are things that I wouldn't be able to do if I'm turning 50 or 80. So, and people die. When people die, if you have a population of people, they become diminishing. They diminish. Their value diminishes. So that is zero. That alpha for capital stands for diminishing return on a capital per worker, and then you have another beta, which is a diminishing return per labor for every employee. So usually they combine them because they add. If you add 0.5 plus if you add 0.5 for the capital and the 0.5 for the labor, that becomes 1. So they consider that to be labor and the capital to be equal to 1. So that's because, and Professor did not explain this when I was in undergrad, in this class, but I learned this in undergrad, right? When the reason why they combine them is because you cannot have capital to perform itself. Like you can't just put money into you can't just if you have $1 billion, right, and you throw money out there, that money is not gonna perform itself. If you have a machine, the machine is not gonna perform itself, right? It needs somebody to do some work, so you need the labor. So they count labor. They are like this. So you have labor and you have capital. They both work hand in hand. So if you have a machine, you need somebody to perform that machine. If you buy a hoe, something they used to dig, you need somebody to use that hoe. If you purchase a trailer to ship goods, you need somebody to perform it. So that's why they count capital. That's why they count capital and the labor at the same time. They combine and make them one. So if in Uganda, if you buy let's say an airplane, and you want that airplane to ship goods from Mbarara to Kampala, right? If you live in Uganda, if you're from Africa, there's a huge distance, right? That machine, that airplane, and the person, the pilot, operating it, they are both considered to be 50%, right? And if the pilot becomes so efficient that they can perform better on above the metrics, if the pilot becomes younger, so if you buy a new airplane, and you buy the airplane is the capital, right? It's the capital, and then the pilot is the labor. So each person is 50-50. So a pilot is 50 because he's capable of operating an airplane, but he can't be 100% because he cannot jump like an airplane, right? So himself is counted as a pilot, as a human labor, is a 50%. Then an airplane itself as a capital, it cannot operate on its own, so it becomes 50%. We give it 50%. So by combining the two, now you have the capital and the labor combined becomes 1. 1 is one way to say zeros and 1. So it's either 0, you have no capital, no worker, no labor. So think about a place like Arizona, right? Like if you've been to Arizona, if you've been to Las Vegas, they have an empty land where nobody's there, just empty, right? So in that area, if that was a country, that would be considered to be an empty country because no labor, no capital, so there's no output, right? So however, in a country like any country, but let's say Uganda, in Uganda you have an airplane, you have a pilot, right? Those two, they're considered to be 1. So it's no 0 because there's nothing, there's something in there. So you have a human and a machine, those becomes 1. 1 is 100%, so it's considered to be 100%. Now over time, right, that machine, that airplane needs a repair, needs to change the tire, you need to change what else? You need to change tires, you need to change the oil, the gas, you need to fix it, you need to buy new things. And then the pilot needs food, needs Medicaid, you need Medicare, you need support. If you cannot think properly, you cannot operate an airplane, right? That, and also the pilot can't stay younger. He's not gonna stay younger. He's gonna get older. So over time, that 1%, that one thing, or 100%, as we call it, starts to go down. So if you think about it, it goes from, if you combine the two, it goes from 100% to like 70%, then 60%, then like 2%, then like 0%. 0% is when a pilot and airplane both dies, like they cannot function. But this doesn't happen because the economy keeps functioning. As the country produces more and more people, the population goes up. So that is one of my favorite formula, Cobb's formula, and this video is gonna be helpful. If you see this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope you understand the Cobb Douglas formula from Soromoto. And like always, thanks for watching. See you. Ciao, ciao.